Welcome back to another episode of Fully Stoked Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Sarah Stokes. Cody is my husband, and he is here sometimes. He's actually starting a whole new series where he's going to be interviewing and talking with restaurateurs, restaurant owners, chefs, and award winners, things like that around the greater Asheville and Charlotte area. So stay tuned for that. But our special guest today is Dr. Kate Dwyer. Welcome, Dr. Kate Dwyer. We're so glad to have you here. Let me tell you a little bit about Kate. So first of all, let me just explain who I am. I'm Sarah Stokes. I'm a lender by day. I help people with all their home financing needs. But what I really enjoy doing is connecting people like entrepreneurs that are successful. Dr. Kate Dwyer, she's a nutritionist and a variety of other things. She has a lot of credentials and letters after her name, and she can tell you all about that in just a minute. But I like to connect her with other people. So in this podcast, I've heard a lot of good things that people glean from the entrepreneurs that we have on here, their successes and even their failures. Really, the failures are where we learn so much. So I'm excited. Let me introduce Dr. Kate Dwyer. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here, Kate.
Thank you so much for having me, Sarah.
So welcome, Kate Dwyer, Dr. Kate Dwyer. Thank you so much for being here. Kate, tell us a little bit about yourself. You were based out of Western North Carolina in the general Asheville area. Is that right?
That is right. Yes, I am the owner of Kate Dwyer Nutrition. I'm a registered dietitian and doctor of clinical nutrition. And I'm passionate about supporting women in their health journeys.
You are. Kate is very plugged in and very involved in all the women's groups that I know of and participate in the area, and everybody knows Kate. So she's got some great knowledge, and I am actually really excited because our family is going to start working with Kate in the near future. We're starting with one person, but there's going to be all of us. All of us are super excited. And Kate, this is just the coolest thing. I'm just going to let the cat out of the bag, but apparently my insurance covers 100% of working with you, and there's no copay and there's no limit. Now, not everybody's does that, so they have to check their own insurance. Is that right? But I
That's
mean,
right.
what a cool thing. I mean,
Yeah,
I get your expertise and your knowledge essentially for free. It's so exciting.
exactly. Yes. So it's part of your preventative coverage. But most insurances will cover nutrition counseling at $0 copay. So it's just something, if you are curious about that, reach out to me. I'll talk more about how to get in touch with me at the end of the podcast.
And she has, yes, this great questionnaire. She has everything taken care of. So
Yeah.
it's not hard at all. Anyway, so I want to talk about some of your work, and I have a lot of questions. I have questions about hormones, but you do more than just hormones. You work with people for all of their nutritional needs. Is that right?
Right. Yep. So I see folks, women who are struggling with PCOS, endometriosis, going through that perimenopause change, people with GI complaints, so the whole gamut.
It's awesome. Do you work with, like maybe they're seeing their primary care physician or their gynecologist or whatnot? So I'm sure you work in tandem with them and communicate. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Good. That's good. So tell us a little bit about your journey, because you were doing biochemistry labs. Like you have so many letters after your name. Can you tell us a little bit about that and how you got so many and what your journey was like?
Yeah. So I graduated with my first bachelor's degree in biochemistry because I've always been fascinated by how the body works on a molecular level. But when I was in the lab, I realized that I wanted to be more on the human side of things.
Yeah.
And I've always been interested in nutrition. So I went back to school and got a second bachelor's degree in nutrition, and went on and got my registered dietitian credentials. And during that time, I was also just so drawn to functional medicine because it looks at the body from a holistic view. It doesn't silo things out. So let's say that you're having under a lot of stress. That stress is going to show up in your GI system, right? It's not going to be like, oh, let's just do this diet and see if it works and helps you out. We're addressing the whole person. So I went on and got my master's degree in human nutrition and functional medicine. And then My husband's like, you have to have a terminal degree. You can't just keep on going back to school. You gotta keep going. So I got my doctorate of clinical nutrition, and opened my own practice and got credentialed with insurance companies so I could offer functional medicine services to people that wouldn't otherwise be available to, because often functional medicine services are cash pay.
Out of pocket. Yeah.
Out of
So I
pocket,
have
yeah.
questions about that. I really do. Okay, guys, this is a little off script. I usually have talking points for my guests, but this is so fascinating to me, and I have so many questions about this. I'm going to go. So functional medicine, from what I understand, is that a lot of chiropractors practice functional medicine. Is that right?
Yes and no. You know, functional medicine is open to all sorts of practitioners. It could be a physical therapist, you know, medical doctors, nutritionists.
Okay.
So it's a
So what does
variety of
functional medicine mean?
So functional medicine at its core looks at people as a whole, and doesn't silo symptoms out. So let's say that you were having, you know, fatigue issues, you know, typically, you know, your doctor might run like a thyroid test or an iron panel. And certainly I would do that too. But we're looking deeper and looking at, hey, do you have blood sugar issues as well? Because that's very common. How's your sleep? You know, how often you ask about sleep in your doctor's office? How many times are you getting up during the night? How's your digestion? Because if you're not digesting food, you're not going to harvest that energy from that food.
So
right?
you just take a little more time. I noticed your first session is it 90 minutes? Is that right?
It's an hour. Sometimes we go a little bit over.
That's a long time though. So you really do dig in and you find all the things.
Yeah.
So my sister goes to a place called Robin Hood, I think, and I think they're you know them, you know.
And Winston-Salem.
Yeah. So they're doing some really cool things. And it seems like maybe you're doing some of the same things that they're doing. It's in the same realm.
Yeah. So, you know, within my scope of practice, I'm not a prescribing provider. I can order labs, I can do supplements, and I go deep on diet, because if we're not doing those foundational things, so one of my personal things that I dislike about some functional medicine providers is that they don't focus on diet. They'll just do all this functional medicine testing, but really it's more of a digestion and diet issue.
Oh.
But they aren't asking those questions. A lot of people will say functional medicine is testing. That's not entirely true. We can do more advanced testing to dive deeper into issues.
Okay.
But if you don't have that diet lined up, if you don't have your emotional regulation squared away, I know you've talked to Alex Vieira. I love her. I refer to clients all the time to her for emotional regulation, because ideally we have sleep and stress squared away, and then on top of that we have diet, and then we have physical activity, and on top of that pyramid we have supplements. So it's like the visualization that I give clients is, if we're looking at a pyramid, we want that foundation to be sleep and emotional stress regulation.
Good, yeah.
And then we have diet, and then we have physical activity, and on top we can add in things like supplements. We can never out supplement a bad diet or a bad exercise regime.
Makes sense.
Likewise, if you have some big T trauma, and you have inflammation showing up in your body, I can tell you about the anti-inflammatory diet, but that likely isn't, and give you supplements, but it's not going to overcome that big T trauma and getting that trauma resolved.
Right. So I was doing the intake last night, and it looked like that was over and over and over, a very significant part of all the questions too. So I agree with that. I absolutely agree with that. I think that's wonderful. Just in my life, I'm 49, so I've been around enough to know that that really emotional, that's one of your foundationals, what you said. I really like that. So very cool. All right. So now I have a little better understanding of what functional medicine is. I just don't think the regular person knows about functional medicine. I don't know. They don't know, but I think all of us can relate to going to your gynecologist and then working on one thing, and then going to your primary care physician, then working on one thing, and maybe going to a therapist and then working on one thing. But it would be great if the whole picture, right? Somebody could work on the whole thing. So that's good that you're coming at it from that standpoint, and it's covered by insurance in most cases. So that's fantastic. So what makes you so passionate about working specifically with women that might be, and you work with not just women, let's let that be known too, but women that might be navigating things like hormonal changes and these changes of life?
Yeah. So, specifically, I work primarily with women because they're underserved in healthcare and in research in general. For instance, for endometriosis, there's only $2 spent on research per year per person who has endometriosis.
My goodness.
It's crazy. There are 5 times more people published on male pattern hair loss than there are on endometriosis. It's
That's
crazy
shocking.
how underserved women are in healthcare and in the research. And so, part of the benefit of having hour-long sessions is that I get to be a listener and get to listen to women's stories and their symptoms. And, really, I think a lot of people are told, oh, that's like just stress or that's just aging. But, I get to lean into their stories and confirm what they're actually going through because it does have a real physiological basis. And I don't want women to suffer in silence.
So I didn't even realize people who were experiencing endometriosis could seek out help from someone like you, but you're saying that's really important to do that.
Yeah. So, PCOS too, half of women with PCOS develop type 2 diabetes by the time they're 40. Yeah, it's crazy, and most women aren't referred to dietitians. For endometriosis, an anti-inflammatory approach can really help with pain. Not so much lesion size, but it can really be helpful in reducing pain and improving quality of life.
So I have a question. Obviously, this is, and I think I know the answer, but I saw the HIPAA forms. So you and I will see each other in social settings in the future. We're going to, absolutely. But if you're working with me and my family members, you're going to know information about us. But that's okay because lots of doctors do that, right? They work with their clients and then they might see them at whatever club or organization that they go to. So that's a normal thing. You do that.
So, I don't reach out to people or acknowledge them if I see them in public places. You're welcome to come up to me and engage in conversation with me. But just per HIPAA, I don't reach out, and like, oh, hey, how's it going? How's this doing? Yeah, no.
That's good to know. That's good. I didn't know that either. So if you don't know, you don't know. Yeah.
Right.
It's really good. Okay. So for people that might not know where to start, because a lot of people are not, I've had friends that were diagnosed with PCOS in their 40s, and I guess they've had it their whole life and they didn't know. What are some signs and symptoms, not just for PCOS, but like any hormonal imbalances that they might want to take note of that maybe you could even help them with?
Yeah. So some big flags are fatigue that doesn't match your lifestyle, sudden weight changes or difficulty losing weight, mood swings or anxiety that feels out of nowhere, poor sleep, any kind of GI symptom that can pop up, or food intolerance, irregular periods, worsening PMS. Of course, that irregular periods after outside of menopause or perimenopause is definitely a sign for PCOS. Brain fog, low motivation, cravings that are out of line with what you've eaten that day. So let's say you ate a decent sized meal and then you're hungry a couple hours later, right? Yeah.
What's happened for? What about brain fog? What does that mean?
So like you're pushing thoughts through Jello.
Yes, I've definitely been there. Definitely
Yeah,
in
or
there.
just like word searching, I know sometimes that happens under pressure, but
Oh, word searching. I
word
didn't relate
searching,
that.
yeah,
Yes, I do that a
yeah,
lot. I'm like, that word, what is
that
that
word,
word that
yeah,
means?
yeah.
Okay, that's word searching, that's brain fog. Good to know. Okay.
hmm
So what are a few key foods or habits that support hormone health? And I know it's really specific to each person, but just in general, do
Yeah,
you have any suggestions?
yeah. So if we're looking at, what to eat, ideally in a day or per meal, we want half our plate non-starchy veggies, and this provides fiber and color, and this really supports our gut microbiome. And I can't um, say enough about supporting the gut microbiome for brain health, for energy, but really want half that plate non-starchy veggies. And then we want protein to be about a quarter of our plate at each meal. And protein really helps also to give us energy and stabilize our blood sugars. And and then we want some healthy fats. Think like olive oil, avocados, nuts, and seeds. Another important thing is just daily movement and getting that sunlight in, especially early in the morning to get to set our circadian rhythm.
Oh, I love that you said sunlight.
Yeah.
I hate, I don't even know if I should bring this up, but I'm going to say it. You're not endorsing it. You don't have to say a word, but I'm going to just say from my personal experience,
hmm
I was like a lifeguard on the beach when I was in college. I was in the sun all the time. I wore baby
Yeah.
oil when I was a teenager because that's what you did in the 80s and
hmm
90s. It was silly and stupid. Then started using sunscreen all the time, right? As much
hmm
sunscreen as I could possibly use. Again, Kate is not endorsing this. This is Sarah talking. So about 8 years ago, 7 years ago, every year I would have something cut off of me. I'd have biopsies and then have to go
hmm
back and cut more off of me as far as my skin, the skin spots or whatever. Went to the dermatologist sometimes twice a year, had full body scans all the time. Anyway, I stopped using sunscreen altogether. Altogether, stopped using it. I went in the sun. I mean, I avoided from like 11 to 1 or
hmm
2. I avoided the highest times because I didn't want to get burned
hmm
because I do burn. I haven't had anything cut off of me since I stopped using
hmm
sunscreen. I stopped eating seed oils and things like that too. I did
hmm
improve what I was putting in my body, but um, nothing. So I do believe that the sun is good for you. And again, Kate's
hmm
not saying this. This is me saying it, but it's just interesting. I do think sunlight is good for you, and so many people are anti-sun. They want to stay out of the sun and wear max sunscreen, and that's for everybody to decide on their own. I just think that's really
Yeah.
interesting that I've not had
Yeah.
anything cut off of me since then. But anyway, so that's really cool. So what is the other fourth of the plate? So you said half a plate of non-starch veggies, and then you said a quarter of the plate protein. Is another quarter fat or
Another core fat is carbohydrates. So you want to think about high quality carbohydrates.
okay?
Think whole grains, starchy vegetables like potatoes, corn, peas, or something like fruit would also be considered a high quality carbohydrate.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah.
So I am on, and as you know, in our circles of people, there are a lot of women that are always on. We're always doing. We're always like
hmm
on the computer or producing social
hmm
media or creating events or being an entrepreneur and networking. Always on. Always, always. Do you notice that some women maybe don't notice that their body is stressed and maybe they're
hmm
not getting the nutrition that they want? Like, what can you say to them? Because I need to hear whatever it is that you have to say to them.
Yeah, yeah. So I think as women, we're taught to go, 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 and we get a lot of approval from our achievements and how much we can do in a day. But when you're constantly on, your nervous system downshifts, and we have this separation from mind and body, and so then we're not able to tap into what our body is telling us. We kind of dissociate from that. Um, so we want to inject downtime into our day and make it an absolute priority, and bring mindfulness back into our body. Because if we're constantly on, we're going to have elevated cortisol, and time that's going to affect our insulin, our thyroid hormones, our sex hormones. Um, Saying I push through things is not better. And, having breaks in the day, saying no to things is not a weakness. We're looking for long-term health, and long-term health looks like a marathon, not a 24 hours.
Okay. So I was going to ask you, what's one thing you can tell women to protect their energy and avoid burnout? It sounds like you were saying just to say no to things and have that built-in time for
Hmm.
rest.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So,
That's
you know,
harder to do. That's what Alex Vieira was telling me too. But like, I just need maybe somebody to coach me into, doing it, actually doing it. I'm
right,
sure working with you helps, right?
right, yeah, we do. I do ask about it
Yeah.
with
That's good.
clients. So
Helps,
sometimes we do need
helps.
to make a plan. Yeah,
Yeah. And when you see your clients, do you see them on a monthly basis or how often do you see your clients?
I see them every 2 to 4 weeks. It just depends on how much support they need.
Okay. And then, so you would like develop a plan for them, and then your website is great because you have where you can put in what you eat, like your diary. So you like
Hmm.
input it into your portal or
Hmm.
is it an app or is it a website or both?
It's both. It's an app
Oh,
and a website.
oh,
Yeah.
good. So you can download it on your phone. You can just input what you're eating, kind of
Hmm.
like. Do you remember my Fitness Pal? I used to use that all the time. I could input in everything and count my calories and guess what calories were. That was really helpful when I was
Yeah,
monitoring, that
yeah. It brings
information.
awareness.
But you monitor more than just calories, obviously. You monitor, is it macros? Is that some of the stuff that you
Yeah.
do?
So macronutrients would be it would be fat, protein, and carbohydrates, and then within carbohydrates we have fiber. And then we also look at micronutrients too, because those play a huge role in energy production and stress.
So what is the difference between, so what is a micronutrient?
That's a good question. Micronutrients are vitamins and minerals.
Oh, okay. All right. So you
Yeah.
want you want packed foods that
And
are packed full of the
yeah, yeah.
micronutrients. And then you look at the macro. That was what you were saying when you were like a half your plate this and a quarter plate
Hmm.
this. Okay. Okay. I never knew that. I'm 49 and I was like, macro, I need to track my
Yeah,
macros. What does that mean?
yeah.
It's probably so simple, I just missed it. But you explained that in a really good way. So you do have a background in biochemistry and that scientific, all those
Hmm.
credentials. I'm sure that makes your practice unique. How can,
Hmm.
like, how does that affect the way that you coach your clients and work with your clients, having all that scientific background, more than the average?
Yeah, so more than the average. It keeps me grounded in the physiology. So I'm looking at things from a holistic view. So, what's going on when a woman tells me she's having trouble losing weight or she's exhausted? Is that what's mitochondria? So, if you remember back to high school biology, we have these little organelles in every cell called mitochondria, and they are also known as the powerhouse that generate energy for us. But they also control inflammation in our bodies. So if they're not functioning well, we're going to have inflammation. That's going to show up as fatigue, weight loss resistance, poor hormone production. I'm always thinking about mitochondrial function. Where are the hormones? How's our blood sugar? Do we have issues with inflammation? Do we have issues with those vitamins and minerals?
So the mitochondria,
Hmm.
this is fascinating. I always want to know how something
Yeah.
works. So that helps control the inflammation in your body. So
Hmm.
when you're addressing mitochondria, like is this what is the foods you're taking in, is the
Hmm.
micronutrients and the macros, and so that's what you're thinking. It's like all based on that
Yeah. Hmm. Yeah.
science. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So
Very cool.
mitochondria are also really sensitive to stress
It
as
helps
well.
release
Like it could
stress. Is
be
that what you said?
stress, like either physical stress, so if you're constantly exercising, or if you are under constant emotional stress too.
Right. Oh, wow. Mitochondria and the
Yeah,
organelle. Okay. That's great. I can't wait to
yeah.
learn more about that. I'm going to research it. Get on ChatGPT later. Wonderful. So, what's something that most people don't know about you that shaped the woman and the entrepreneur that you are today?
Gosh, that's a really good question. I guess some people know this, but I am an endurance athlete. I haven't done any like endurance races recently, but I've done multiple ultra marathons. Um,
Wow.
yeah, that's how I know Tara. Yeah, it's
I
through the
love it.
ultra running community. And so, with that, part of ultra marathons is endurance. And so, I think that's always something that's resonated with me business wise and just personally is one foot in front of the other. This may not feel comfortable right in the moment, but one foot in front of the other, and things will either get better or they'll get worse, but you're always one foot in front of the other.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
So would you would you help people who are ultra athletes, I guess?
Yeah,
You
I
work
do
with
some
them?
sports nutrition as well.
I did not know that. Well, that's
Yeah.
wonderful news in case I decide to be an ultra athlete.
Yeah.
I do like to run, but I'm not an ultra
hmm
athlete, yes. Well, what final encouragement would you give to women who are trying to build success without sacrificing their health or peace?
Mm. I like to think like really dial in into protecting energy, because I think it goes so well with that sleep and stress resilience piece. But think of energy as a budget, and we have to sometimes reverse engineer that. So, you know, we have income and you have expenses. We're always tracking expenses that might be like work, responsibilities, kids. But we need to build that income up as right? Income being sleep, meals that stabilize you, boundaries of your time, little movement snacks, where you're doing like 10 squats every hour or something like that. Just to get, yeah, so they're like little things you can do movement wise that are equivalent to walking 30 minutes. So if you're doing, little movements throughout the day, that's also super helpful for energy, for getting your metabolism going as well. And then just learning how to say no to things too. I think we're always pressured into saying yes to things. I
Do
know
you know
as women,
things?
I do try to say no to some things.
Well,
Yeah.
maybe you should do like a special little workshop on how to say no. How to
Yes.
say no. Women
Yeah.
struggle with that sometimes.
I'll get
And
Alex in.
what's that?
I said I'll get Alex over too, and we'll do a workshop
We
on
could do
saying
it
no.
together. I
Do it
think that would
together.
actually be really helpful, really, really
Yeah.
helpful. So,
Yeah.
you are a wealth of knowledge, and your skin is absolutely beautiful. Like, do you do anything other than eat excellent foods and healthy foods, or is that just a product of the things that you're taking into your body and your sleep?
Yeah, so it's a lot of things. One, I do really concentrate on eating well, and eating well, lots of fruits and vegetables. They feed your gut microbiome, and
Okay. Yes. You do. You do wear sunscreen. All of all of my estheticians and doctors say to do that as well. Yeah. 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 No, I think it's great.